Yesterday, House Democratic Caucus Chair Hakeem Jeffries tweeted, "There is a national emergency in America. It's called Individual One." And Individual One, of course, is the term used to refer to President Trump and his former lawyer Michael Cohen's court papers. Anyway, U.S. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries joins us right now. The president has said that, in fact, we're facing a national crisis, maybe even a national emergency, he might announce tonight. He may demand expansive powers outside the normal constitutional role of a president. What do you make of it?
Well, there is no national emergency at the border. It's all made up. It's presidential fiction, and it's part of Donald Trump's effort to try to find a lifeline to get out of this reckless shutdown that he's caused and now is holding the American people hostage. The number of apprehensions at the border right now is at one of its lowest levels in about 2 decades. The United States Congress, in a bipartisan way, over the last 10 or so years, has significantly increased funding for border security, significantly increased the number of personnel who are at our border, and we're willing to do more. We're just not willing to acquiesce to a government shutdown and pay a $5 billion ransom note for a medieval border wall that will not be effective.
The American people are going to watch him tonight, less than 2 hours from now, without a filter, no fact checkers. The president is just pushing his line. What do you want to warn them about as they watch him?
Well, we're concerned that he's going to try to fool the American people into doing something that would really be extra constitutional in terms of making a declaration in order to fulfill a political promise. This is what this is all about, Chris, at the end of the day. He promised that he was going to build the border wall and that Mexico was going to pay for it. It's clear that the great deal maker has failed to convince Mexico to pay for it. For the last 2 years, Republicans have controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency, yet no border wall. And so now, because of Trump's inability to successfully deliver on that political promise, he's going to stand before the American people and make up the notion that there's a national emergency.
Suppose he demands expanded powers tonight. You're in leadership now. What can you do about it? What will you do about it?
Well, I think we'll be in conversation to make sure that every available legal avenue to make sure that this is decided in the courts as per Article 3 of the United States Constitution when there's a dispute between the executive and the legislative branch. And I would expect that if this does wind up in the courts, the judges will decide he does not have this ability to unilaterally declare a national emergency and then spend billions of dollars on something that he could not get done through the normal legislative process.
Can you enjoin him? Can you stop a president of the United States from shifting those billions of dollars from defense to a wall? Can you stop him in the act?
Well, I think the likelihood is you will see movement for injunctive relief, but ultimately a federal district court and perhaps D.C. Circuit and ultimately perhaps the Supreme Court will have to make that decision.
Are you behind Nancy Pelosi's position that the building a wall is an immorality?
I strongly stand behind Nancy Pelosi's position as it relates to how she's characterized the situation that we find ourselves in. It's immoral, it's impractical, and it's not feasible.
Let me ask you about American tradition and the primetime address. I'm older than you. I don't remember Truman and the coal strike, but I can sure remember, as Leon Panetta does, Kennedy coming before the country and saying, we may be in nuclear war in a couple hours. That grabbed our attention, and it should have. What's the president got in terms of gravitas, in terms of this situation? Is there any smidgen of justification for him to use the primetime address on what is basically a partisan issue?
None at all. The office has gravitas, as it should, but this particular occupant of that office has abandoned that with all of the chaos, crisis, and confusion that he has subjected the American people to unnecessarily during the last 2 years. It's unfortunate that he is going to try to utilize the opportunity to deliver an address from this hallowed office in order to appeal once again to his narrow base amongst the American people.
Thank you. U.S. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, the chairman of the Democratic Caucus, a man on the rise, I must say.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.